Media is going to lose interest in this shooting out there pretty soon now. That's in the cards, folks. It's just probably won't even last the balance of this week. And they'll have moved on as well, because I somehow have hijacked this from Sarah Palin. Over the weekend and yesterday morning, Sarah Palin was responsible for the shooting. Now it's me. This idiot sheriff has gone, I don't know who's coaching the guy, but he's blown it. He's out there blaming me now. The radio did it. That's going to be the defense. The radio did it, but I'm not running for office. They think Palin's going to be running for office, and so they figure they can no longer get away with blaming the Tucson shootings on Palin or the Tea Party. They'll move on to other things, which they already are. I told you yesterday because of the quick move to gun control. There's a new Facebook page out there, started last night. I hate it when I wake up and Sarah Palin is still alive. And there are 2,051 people who like this so far. I hate it when I wake up and Sarah Palin is still alive. Perhaps another indication of just how off the tracks this whole thing is becoming for the left. Perhaps to show that they're just throwing the kitchen sink out there now. And by the way, in mere moments, we have a warning from the sheriff. Sheriff Dipstick himself has asked for time on this program. We have granted him a few seconds. And we have a warning from him for all of you for the good of the country coming in mere moments. Plus, I'm going to endeavor to in-depth explain for the gazillionth time since I began this program, the liberal mind on this. But to show you that it's about over, that they're throwing everything up at the kitchen sink here and hoping it sticks to the wall. This is last night on Sergeant Schultz's show. Well, maybe it was on Sergeant Schultz's radio show. I don't know which, but Sergeant Schultz, one of his two shows. Jim Clyburn, a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, explaining what caused the shooting.
All of this stuff about delegitimizing the President of the United States, that is uncalled for. And all the stuff taking place in the chambers the other day when the Constitution was being read, all that stuff is uncalled for. They're hanging over the banister that some members did last year, egging on the demonstrators out there. That stuff is uncalled for. We ought to conduct ourselves in public office in the way we teach our children to conduct themselves when they go out into the public.
Did you hear this? I know it's kind of hard to understand. He said all this stuff about delegitimizing the president, that's uncalled for. All of the stuff taking place in the chambers the other day when the Constitution was being read, all that's uncalled for. So reading the Constitution led to the shooting of a Democrat member of Congress, according to James Clyburn. Democrat, South Carolina. How more ridiculous can you get? By the way, there also is a Kill Sarah Palin Facebook page. There are two Facebook pages that have to do with Sarah Palin dying. Reading, yes, you heard correct, Congressman Clyburn. Reading the Constitution was uncalled for. He was answering a question of what led to all this. What really is reading the Constitution on the floor of the House. Here, ladies and gentlemen, a warning from Sheriff Clarence Dipstick from Arizona.
And now a warning from Pima County Sheriff Clarence Dupnick.
Continuous listening to the Rush Limbaugh show and this kind of rhetoric will cause you to smoke marijuana, attempt to use it as a currency, build a skull shrine in your backyard to worship Satan, and read and admire the Communist Manifesto. All signs of becoming a serious conservative nutcase. In the end, you may even become susceptible to subliminal messages from Sarah Palin. Please turn off your radio and let law enforcement professionals like me handle your need for news and information. Thank you.
Any rational content of this message is purely coincidental.
An exclusive warning to those of you in this program offered by, I mistakenly said Dipstick. Somebody's been writing to me calling him that. It just, okay, you got a favorite song in your mind and it won't leave. Clarence Dupnik, Pima County Sheriff, warning of all the terrible things that go wrong listening to this program. Folks, the left is, in its various forms, the media, politics, etc., the left cannot accept the reality of a madman slaughtering innocent people. They can't accept that. It has to be something more. It cannot be individual responsibility. They reject that concept anyway, in whatever we're talking about. But the reality of a madman slaughtering innocent people in their dream world, it's not possible. The reality of their rejection in the last election, they cannot accept that. Really, I'm talking psychologically, a huge rejection. They just got blown off by every girlfriend they've ever had. Try to understand the magnanimity of this, or the magnanimous, or the bigness of it. Having a mental block on the word I want to use. They see everything through the prism of their desires, their power, their designs. That's how they view the world. Through the prism of their desires, their power, their designs. They live in a fantasy world. They believe utopia can happen. They believe they are the architects. They cannot deal with anything that happens in reality that illustrates there's no utopia and that they can't make it happen. Now, we, on the other hand, the rational, we see this killing for what it is. We pray for the victims and their families. We support legitimate law enforcement's efforts to investigate and prosecute the killer. Our thoughts and emotions focus on the event. We don't seek a deeper understanding of it. We do not seek to advance our political agenda, except to the extent that we are about truth, which is why we look specifically at evidence and facts. We don't look at dreams. We don't look at, gee, I hope this is the result of, gee, can we make people think this is the result of? We, conservatives, conservatism, we, as I have said for 23 years in this program, it's a daily, relentless, unstoppable pursuit of the truth. I have told you countless times, in Literalville. I live in Realville. And I understand that not many people do, but I do. We don't seek a deeper understanding of a madman like this who has committed the worst kind of crime. You see this guy's mugshot? I mean, this is the mugshot of all mugshots. This guy's getting exactly what he's wanted. Attention out the wazoo. And stop and think of this. What Mr. Loeffner knows is that he has the full support of a major political party in this country. He's sitting there in jail. He knows what's going on. He knows that a Democrat party, the Democrat Party, is attempting to find anybody but him to blame. He knows if he plays his cards right, he's just a victim. He's the latest in a never-ending parade of victims brought about by the unfairness of America, the bigotry, racism, sexism, homophobia of America, the mean-spiritedness of America. So he sits around, he gets reports, he understands that, he probably never paid the attention to Sarah Palin. All of his friends say he didn't like things political. This guy's been on the sheriff's radar in Pima County since 2007, long before Sarah Palin was nominated to run with McCain, and long before there was a Tea Party. That smiling mugshot, this guy clearly understands he's getting all the attention, and he understands he's got a political party doing everything it can, plus a local sheriff doing everything that they can to make sure he's not convicted of murder, but something lesser. He's a victim. He's deranged, and yet he's smiling. He's snickering at every one of us in that mugshot. What must it feel like to be Jared Loughner? To know you've done this and to realize that the party of the President of the United States is trying to figure out a way to blame their political opponents for it. To understand that advisors to the President are telling him how to capitalize on this incident for his own political advancement, the President's. He's got to be sitting there thinking, what a lucky turn of events this is. Thank goodness they're focusing on the Congresswoman. Thank goodness the media, Mr. Loughner saying, doesn't care about the dead Republican judge. I got a note from my friend Andy McCarthy today. He said, I wonder, Rush, what would happen if things were a little different here. Let's say that the dead individual happened to be a Democrat judge. The wounded individual fighting for life is a Republican member of Congress. Who do you think the media would be focused on in that incident? It's a rhetorical question, but we all have the answer to it. So if you're Jared Loughner, no wonder you're smiling in your mugshot. The entire political party, the Democrat Party, working to blame somebody other than you. I mean, make you, Jared Loughner, the victim. And trying to find a way for that party to use this as a way to advance their own political agenda. We don't do any of that on the conservative side of things. We don't seek a deeper understanding of madmen who commit the worst kind of crimes. We seek justice. The left seeks more. What's happening here, folks? The American left, liberals, Democrat Party, right now, we're watching it, are trying to justify their own existence. They're trying to justify their own politics, their own ideology, through unrelated events like this. Seeks to advance them through the derangement of projection. That is, they are good people. They know the truth. And those who disagree with them are bad and are know-nothings. And they think if the world were just more organized by them, if the world were just more centralized by them, if the world were just more controlled by them, bad things like this wouldn't happen, they believe. There would be less hate if they controlled everything. There would be less violence if they controlled everything. There would not be any poverty if they controlled everything. There wouldn't be any real wealth if they controlled everything. Everybody would be the same. They're good. They know the truth. If only the rest of us would learn or be forced to adapt to their beliefs and embrace their truth, things like this would never happen ever again. Nobody would ever die. So they lash out, no matter how irrationally, no matter how irresponsibly, against those who reject them, which is a majority of the country. To the American left, for the American left, for the Democrats, no individual and no one event is bigger than them and their beliefs. Therefore, every opportunity must be taken to advance their agenda, no matter how unrelated events are to their belief system. This sheriff is an embarrassment to committed law enforcement officers all over the country. This guy, Joe Arpaio, even said, I hope this guy is not creating a defense for smart lawyers to use. Well, he's already done that. There are a lot of things this sheriff doesn't want people to learn, and I think one of the reasons that Sheriff Dupnick is lashing out at me, I did call him out personally yesterday, justifiably so. I think one of the reasons he's lashing out at me is to hide all of the opportunities his department has had to put this guy away before this event happened. They have a timeline and a series of facts about the incidents involving Mr. Loughner in the jurisdiction out there where the sheriff, his department, had ample opportunity to I mean, how'd this guy get a gun? Well, he passed the federal requirement because he didn't have... there was something didn't produce a red flag. I forget what it was. Now, I don't know that this guy was on unemployment benefits, Mr. Loeffner. I don't know if he had a job or not. I don't know if he was on extended unemployment benefits. But what if he was? Do we need a rule? Should there be some rules about the mentally ill receiving unemployment benefits from the federal government? Who knows how they're going to spend the money? I mean, we can start generalizing in ways here that are... Like Quinn Hillier at the American Spectator had a pretty good post. This guy is an atheist. Therefore, all atheists are mass murderers. Therefore, all atheists need to be locked up. I mean, this is turning on its head the quote-unquote logic the Democrats and the left are trying to use against me, Sarah Palin, well, you name it. Names on the right, Tea Party at large. So that's where we are. Oh, and even this, the No Labels gang has moved in on this. From the Washington Post, the Tucson tragedy, a real opportunity for nonpartisan groups, No Labels. As the debate over civility in politics continues in the wake of the shooting in Tucson, groups founded to push bipartisanship see an opening. Could this be a moment for the political middle? Mark McKinnon, co-founder of No Labels, nonpartisan group founded last month, is a real tragedy, but it's also a real opportunity. Third Way, a group of moderate Democrats, doesn't exist. There are no moderate Democrats. They're all Democrats. Is likewise seeking to spur the conversation on moderation. Yeah, well, all these moderates, great independents, who'd they vote for in November? Republicans, I think. I got to take a quick break. And Mr. Loeffner, if anything, he was No Labels guy. He himself was No Labels. He wasn't a Republican or Democrat. He didn't like politics. Made to order for the No Labels group, and he's a murderer.